few years ago that we would ever read headlines like these in American newspapers, I would have called him crazy. Yet here we are, reading them. In the middle of the 20th century in the United States of America, hundreds and hundreds of teenage boys and girls are becoming hopeless dope addicts every year. It's fantastic, it's unbelievable, and it's terrible, but it's true. The government maintains 2 hospitals just to treat drug addicts at Lexington, Kentucky and Fort Worth, Texas. It used to be a rare thing for a juvenile to be admitted, but look at these recent figures. And remember, these are only confirmed addicts who have come to the attention of federal authorities. How many others are still only occasional users of marijuana or heroin, morphine, or in some cases sleeping pills? It's pretty hard to estimate. But there's one sure thing. Nobody is going to stay an occasional user very long. This is one game nobody beats. If you use narcotics, before long you'll have the habit, about the hardest in the world to break. And the dope addicts say, you're hooked. Well, how does one become hooked? The simplest way to answer that is to talk to someone who has had the experience. This is the home of Mr. and Mrs. Walter Howard. They just got their teenage daughter back after a 6-month nightmare that even Edgar Allan Poe couldn't have improved on. Mrs. Howard agrees to let us talk to her daughter, Phyllis, when we explain that we could use her case to help others avoid the same mistakes. This is Phyllis as she looked 6 months ago, a senior in high school, pretty as a picture. Just recently, she was released from the narcotic ward of the county jail in the custody of her parents. It's hard to believe that this girl is the same as the one in the picture, but it doesn't take long for the drug habit to make anyone over. Phyllis wasn't anxious to talk about her experiences with dope, but she could see how her story might be used to help others, and she began to talk.
I guess I knew about reefers, that's marijuana, ever since junior high. Some of the boys smoked them, the ones who couldn't get along, who were afraid of everything. You know, the ones with no backbone. In high school, my girlfriend Ann and I went around with Jim and Bob. They both smoked pot. That's jive talk for marijuana. And after a while, Ann and I got so that we did, too. It's funny what it does to you. Everything speeds up to 100 miles an hour. You think you're real sharp, and you laugh a lot. You feel like you're the biggest person in the world. But I didn't feel so good when I came home high that night. My dad knew something was wrong, but he didn't know what. Mother was sure her daughter would never do anything bad. I'd been smoking pot for quite a while before I met Chuck. I guess he was what the newspapers call a peddler. He supplied the kids at school with whatever they wanted. Most of them used reefers like us, but some liked stronger things. There was something intriguing and different about Chuck. I guess I appealed to him in some way, too. Anyway, I found out later what it was about him. He had the heroin habit. He was hooked. Chuck and I started running around together, and one night he asked me up to his place. I knew by now he started peddling after he got the habit, so he could get H for himself. He needed a lot because he had a big habit. You know something about hypes? They're like a disease. They don't like to see anybody not using the stuff just because they do. Chuck finally talked me into using heroin. He said it would make him feel better. So I tried it. But I was going to be smart. Just take it or leave it. Nothing was going to happen to me. But before I knew it, I was hooked. Bad. I had a heroin habit as big as Chuck. I hadn't been home in weeks. Oh, Chuck and I were married, but it didn't matter very much. Nothing does. Not when you're on H. All you think about day and night is dope. How much you've got, where to get more, what you'll do if you can't get it. And then they'd got Chuck. They had to eventually, I knew that, but it didn't matter much. Nothing did except H. All of a sudden, it hit me. If Chuck had seen the cops coming, he might have got rid of our supply. That's what happened. Chuck got rid of everything. Probably in the garbage disposal. Oh, that's a favorite trick of Hype's when they're going to be arrested. But it left me in an awful spot. I needed a fix bad. So bad I didn't care whether I lived or died. And I didn't know whether I'd ever get another cap.
In the meantime, Phyllis's parents had nearly gone crazy. They hadn't seen or heard from their daughter in months. Mr. Howard checked every newspaper story that might by any remote chance have to do with Phyllis. But gradually their hopes died. They were almost convinced she was dead.
But I wasn't dead. I tried once to kick off the habit, but I was too far gone. You know, the police say, find a heroin addict and you find a criminal, and that's just about it. If you're hooked bad, it costs about $30 a day for H. Boys get the money by stealing or swiping car parts, maybe by holdups. Girls take up street walking or do what I did, become peddlers themselves. When Chuck went to jail, I used his contacts and peddled dope myself. Sure, I knew it was wrong, but when you're hooked, you can't help yourself. They got me eventually, too, just like they did Chuck. And when I was arrested, I was almost glad. I told them I wanted help. I wanted to try and kick it off. It was horrible. 5 days, and I didn't care whether I lived or died. It feels like your skin is being torn right off you, and then you ache all over and get sick and you can't breathe. Your nose runs and you have a high fever, and then you pass out, but when you wake up, it starts all over again. 5 days. But I was lucky. I kicked it off, and I've never used dope since. Maybe what happened to me will keep it from happening to somebody else. Or I don't even want to talk about it. And all I hope is that someday I can forget it.
Well, that's Phyllis's story. In the United States of America, 20th century. Unbelievable, isn't it, that such things can happen? Phyllis's case is typical. Most teenagers start off with marijuana. Then they decide to see if heroin has any kick. It does. Sometimes it only takes a few days to find out they can't leave it alone. In order to get money to buy it, they turn to crime. And that's the story. There are practically no happy endings when you fool with drugs. Doctors say restoring an addict to normal life is about the toughest thing in medicine. Well, what's the answer? Enforcement? Yes, that's one of them, certainly. In the Far East a few years back, they were lining up dope peddlers and shooting them in the back of the head. But it didn't stop addiction. It just made it harder for victims to get the stuff. No, the answer is a simple one. Just use your head. Leave narcotics absolutely alone. Remember what happened to Phyllis and others like her. Talk it over with your parents or school counselor, somebody you have confidence in. Some say the Reds are promoting dope traffic in the United States to undermine national morale. They did it in China a few years back. It's certainly true that the increased use of narcotics plays right into their hands. But why not show everybody, including ourselves, that young American men and women have too much intelligence to make such a stupid, ghastly, tragic mistake? Let's make tomorrow's headlines read like this.
Live. It's the John Doe Radio Show. How much higher can you get?
Well, what the president said during the campaign, you'll be surprised to know, will be consistent with what we'll be doing here in law enforcement.
And now talking about legalizing marijuana and taxing marijuana to solve budget problems.
Prohibition doesn't work. Maybe after 71 years, it's time for a new approach.
We should be able to give our kids the message we think is appropriate.
A rational, safer choice.
Great celebration of freedom.
Legalize the possession of marijuana.
John Doe Radio.
Good morning. I wish the headphones would go back to the ambient sound like I always leave them every single day when I leave the show. That's all right, though. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're having a fantastic day wherever it is your day is happening. You know, that's like one of the things that it's like a catchphrase or something, you know, that I started using a long time ago when I first got into radio. It was something cheesy and dumb and stupid, but, you know, we kept it. Because cheesy represents the JDR very well. All right? No comment on the other two. We'll just leave those sitting there. It's actually a pretty big news today, news day in cannabis. We will get to those stories and more. I'll tell you what we will get to in just a second. First of all, let's make sure that we thank Get Seeds right here. My brain was like trying to make sure that it checked everything, and I didn't get much sleep last night, so we'll just try and keep it simple today, really. So, not overwork the brain and try to have it think of three things at once. I'm getting better at juggling things, but that was like a panic moment right there when I was trying to think of shit. I'm like, no, don't screw up already. Oh, you already did it. All right, anyway, big thanks to you, the people that make JDR possible. Even if you listen to JDR for a minute, if you listen to it for the whole show, thank you very much for your interest. Thank you very, very much for your support. That's why I do this. It's fun, but the fun just being by myself wore off a bit ago. So having you with us here means the world to me. Absolutely. More than almost anything else could. So I appreciate you. Also, big thanks Speaking of mad appreciation, get seats right here. Make sure you holler at Pike. Get seats right here. You can also find out where the Discord is and where all the action happens. If you've got a question about where that is, just come and hang out with us live Monday through Friday in our Twitch chat, twitch.tv/John Doe Radio. And you yourself, you get that Discord link. You can also ask me too. My Discord link is right below. Bike's in the chat all the time, but just in case you're on YouTube, so we'll get you taken care of. What up, Telly? I got a little bit dark in here, so the camera colors might be a little bit off. But what do we get? What do I? You probably care more than I do. There was no way I was gonna deal with the bright lights today. That was not gonna work. But yeah, get seats right here. Make sure you check them out if you would like to get yourself assured of good product, quality, not just something that is kicked off from whatever plant. You don't even know what it is. Could come from anywhere. That kind of stuff is pretty rampant right now, especially in seeds. So make sure that you find yourself a reliable source. Get Seeds right here is that reliable source. GetSeedsRightHere.com. I got a funny story that we're going to get to right away. If all else fails, we talked about milk and frogs today. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Tally, I know you're still doing the music and stuff. You doing a podcast or anything? Talking cannabis? I was going to be contacting you here soon. I contacted someone else yesterday about some growing and putting together a package of information and outline that he could send to me and I could research, and we would come together rather than just bringing them on, interview, whatever, try to have a planned discussion, you know, and have it be a little bit more organized and in depth from what, you know, just shoot from the hip interview, which are fine anyway, especially when you're talking to someone like the first time after a long time. But, you know, the people that we would like to maybe talk to consistently, the trusted sources of education here on the JDR. Some cool plans like that. That would be cool. I noticed I was like checking the levels there and I like looked over the screen. And it really does. Like, I'm sitting here staring at myself talk, making sure that it looks halfway decent and the levels are right. It takes a special kind of egotistical person to sit and do what I do every day, especially if there's nobody sitting and listening to you on the other side at the beginning. No, I've thought about doing some hash stuff, but didn't think anyone wanted to hear it. They for sure want to hear it. We just got to find the crowd, man. You know damn well people want to hear tech and information about all that stuff. They want to learn. They want to learn how they can hustle themselves. Telly and chat, we're here talking with for the people at YouTube. Oh, former Incredibles, former bunch of stuff. A trusted source that I would look to for information, which very, very few people in that list. If I had access to more people, the list would be larger, but you know. I mean, if we could get Elon Musk on the show, he would be a trusted source of information for me when it came down to it. Right? Right? But we don't have access. So the people we have access to and the people I know, he's one of them. Oh, great. This sucks. I moved the screen. This is like that much higher. I set it on a little box thing. Because I was, by the end of the show, my neck was getting all jacked up. So I said, what can I do to kind of change this a little? And I was like, you know, I'm kind of looking weird at the screen. So we did that. But then I'm going to have to move this one over because it cuts off the whole bottom of the screen. So I see that Bike said something, but I don't know what he said. Hey, what up? Shatter Search. I know who that is. Oh, yeah. Look at this. It's like, I'm like, I need to read my chat. Let me just look up over here and then over here. It is a cockpit in here. Giggity. Literally, because I'm the only one here. Get it? But yeah, even Bike knows what's up. You're just being silly. You're just being silly. I get it. Also takes, focus and drive to... I didn't mean to put it that way. God, I'm sorry, tell it. The thing that we ran into this conversation with about it being, a special kind of person that sits here, I'm not saying good, bad, special, whatever way, to sit here and break through, the beginning stages of what a podcast and entertainment, the grassroots of something and then building it and growing it. It's difficult to consistently stick with that. And then the valuable information that yourself and others connected to you have, that frustration of not being able to connect with as many people as you want. I don't know. I'm projecting here, but I'm just saying I get the plight of getting that done and the ball rolling. It took so long to get this shit back together and rolling, and the main reason was I didn't feel like, number one, I could do it, and then two, which I still question today, and I just don't try and think about it, is whether or not it's a successful thing. So then at that point, you just say, just like right here, it's kind of a good thing because the number of viewers is covered. Yesterday here on the JDR was absolutely, I bet one person might have heard part of the show live. And, we got Bike holding down court here every day and 428 GTO. We got like one or two or three other people, and that's how it starts. And it's difficult to get over that hill. There's been some depressing times for me to say, fark it. You cannot think about the success of that. You have to do it for yourself. Think back when you did radio, when you recorded JDR at the very beginning. That's all it was. I would sit there, record a podcast, like a talk show on radio, because that's what I was doing at the time. That's what I was taught how to do. Anyway, long-winded story short, we get to the news. Things are actually a little bit more well together today than I thought they would. I mean, legitimately, this is like one of the true tests of JDR here, because there was no sleep. And this is going to maybe happen. Not maybe happen. This is going to happen. But I was like, maybe I shouldn't do it. I don't want to make myself look like a fool. And I was like, number one, there's not that many people in here. Telly, before I get sidetracked, I can help be that too. It's a matter of not wanting to do it or not wanting to be involved with me. I completely understand that. There's no... I'm not trying to press you, none of that shiz. But, let's work together to create something. If you want to do something on your own channel, anyway, we can talk about it. You know what I'm saying? This man is like one of the OGs of the $1 million idea crew in cannabis, which is far and wide. I do admit, I'm not just assuming this my circle or Telly's circle, whatever, is the end all be all of cannabis and education, etc. Blah blah. I started to hate the blah blah, but now it's kind of a trigger of when to tell myself to shut up. So I dig it. And I also figured out yesterday, I know it's so many different things running in my mind right now. I'm excited, man. I get stoked to do the show every day. That's why at the beginning it's and then I kind of get my thoughts out and just jumbled, and we might bring it back around, and Sometimes we don't, and it's been pretty good lately. I figured out how to add video, audio, I could push a button and I can like have anything play or come up, like Bike intended to happen when he got this thing, and like that was cool. I don't think there was really anything else in that long-winded yammering of yapping. That I forgot to continue. I don't know. Logistics here. Fridays are a good day, man. Circle back. See, that's what I'm saying, dude. Logistics. I need a producer. I need someone like you to sit there and be like, circle back, and then there's like a one word next to it. And that'll trigger what I needed to finish. The insane amount of quality that we would improve on if we had a quality check service like that, producer action. I don't know what I'm saying. All right, the center of the universe or whatever. Oh, we are. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I talked about it before here on JDR plenty of times before today, yesterday, this last week. The people that were fortunate enough to be around at that time and see the things that we got to see and saw what we got to record. You know, we recorded it all. Literally, we literally recorded history and the process of it all, hammering things out, education. And it's like when you start to find out new tools and ideas and things throughout the history of evolution. For some reason, my tiredness, the history of evolution. It sounds like it sounds like an oxymoron right now. Maybe it is. Anyway, it's now added to the JDR dictionary. But through that history, see, this is the exact moment that we need to have another one. I was like looking up at the 3 things at once. That one was a bad one because that one just kind of like, that one let us off of a cliff and made it seem really stupid because there was a point we were getting to that obviously wasn't important. Oh, God. You know what? This is really inconvenient having this goddamn chat room here. Circle back, logistics, circle back. True evolution, history, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, tools. See, we're getting better. Getting better. Tools through history, like John Doe. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about ideas and techniques, you know, sometimes have proven themselves to pop up at certain times in different locations around the same time. I think even when it comes to LSD and tripping, that at the same time, you know, basically the same time, Albert Hoffman found the things that he found. Damn, I'm going to screw up this guy's name because I haven't remembered his name in so long. Schultzes? Robert Schultzes? It's close. Maybe not the first name, but the last name is. It's close by JDR standards, but this gentleman, perusing the Amazon, I forget who he was documented for. It was like, you know, like National Geographic or something, or working for a government. Because that kind of cool shit really happened back then. It was like adventurers and explorers were set out to document shit. That's so cool and exciting to think about. I wouldn't go to the Amazon personally, but this dude did, and if I'm correct, about the same time found tripping there. Anyway, we could go into more detail at a later date on that. Speaking of tripping. No, we're not tripping here at JDR. The news for today that we have. The first thing I'm going to get to with you today, we branch out from cannabis stories sometimes and talk about things other than cannabis, especially when it comes to psychedelics, really. I don't see us covering too much of anything else. Psychedelics, cannabis, not too much happening in the coke realm. It took my brain 10 minutes to hit that button. But the first story we'll cover today, conservationists plead with public to stop milking psychedelic toads. What the hell is wrong with you people? Don't you understand? The toad is a living thing. He's got feelings too. And if you don't stop, there's gonna be no toads. Psychedelic toads, that is. Which seems like a crazy... It definitely seems like a pretty crazy thought. But yeah, that's an interesting story that I ran across today. I ran across a bunch of other stuff too. And a smorgasbord of information. Pretty decent word for what I'm trying to get to. But a smorgasbord, Borg. You can pronounce the name right, or word right. Then it qualifies as an actual word. And then you can use it. Anyway, it's just a geyser of awesome, free-to-use media and cool shiz. Started the show 10 minutes before the show. Hit that play button on the anti-drug PSA. And these are like 10-minute PSAs that they put out at the time in movie theaters that would play before movies. It would be like newsreels, etc. I'm sure you know, and hopefully you know. If you don't know, before like TV and the internet and all that great shizzle, people went to the movie theater and they watched the news there. They had like government announcements. But yeah, they're pretty funny, and a lot of that stuff's so old, and it's government material anyway that it's free to use. Also, which I didn't know, and this makes sense, perfect sense, exactly what we're talking about right now in the age, and who produced it. But Reefer Madness does not have a license on it, so depending on how things go after the show, we may throw Reefer Madness on. Or we may just do that tomorrow, or we may do it Sunday. I'm not sure. But we have Reefer Madness. And then I'm trying to get rights to a couple other videos and documentaries from people that we can sit down and watch. Like on Sunday afternoon, have a watch party. I think that would be really cool. It'd be a way that we could be on. Not a lot of news on the weekend. I considered and probably will at some point do a weekend review on Saturday or Sunday and just get on and, relax and talk about, the past week's news and a roundup. At a certain point, I do worry that, we don't have the information or access to the people we need in front of us, and that's where this other type of stuff comes in. So the larger we build and the larger we branch out, the better off we'll be. The toughest part is where that whole long-winded discussion with Telly was kind of going at the beginning, is getting people dedicated, creative people that can produce quality work, that are willing to basically do it for nothing at this point, Nothing. You get nothing. You went to Costco on shrooms one time? Shit was intense. Yeah, I can't go outside. I tried. Doesn't work. Had to peek up over that. Felt like a journey. Yeah, dude, tripping in public is not for me. I already have to be highly managed and babysat in that situation. So, I mean, I don't, but the brain says I do. Just let go. Let go. Let go. It's like try to kick and punch me while it's hanging off the hanging off the side of a cliff. It's just like up punching. Let me go. All right. I'm telling you, it takes a certain kind of ego to sit here and make a fool of himself every day, as I do. You know what? Maybe that should be like the first prediction we do is how many we'll have a producer or we'll have Bike, which is not, he's not going to, never mind. I'm not going to do work. The amount of times that I do not finish a complete thought where it sounds like it could be of something of value and then just runs off. That'll be like a reward or like some sort of giveaway we can do for documenting that and turning it in at the end of the show. You know? I'm going to get a station director or a producer one way or another. Eventually we get the crowd, we outsource it to them. All right, get to these, John Doe. It's only a half an hour in and I almost got to piss. All right, 20-year-old Kansas lawmaker files decrim bill. This is a very interesting story for the plain simple fact that it's 20-year-old Kansas lawmaker introduced a bill Tuesday to broadly decriminalize possession in the state. 20 years old. I'm trying to think of like, I mean, I was doing some cool things at 20 years old. I was thinking about being in politics at 20, you know? I wish I could go back to 20 and the gusto and passion, non-jadedness for being stabbed in the gut by life. Those are good times, man. But, yeah, I was already radio career and I don't know, time frames suck. But around that time, you know, I was talking with senators and governors and athletes, and I've fortunately worked, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I've done cool shit and been comfortable by that point of talking to people of that standard. So it doesn't really faze me that much to talk to anybody that's like a big famous person or whatever and have a conversation with them. Probably a few people that would maybe shake me. I got shook, but really what it comes down to it, take a deep breath before. That's the old me. Maybe even the new me would be a different thing. It would just completely fall apart. Unless, like I mentioned the other day, it's Mason Tvert was safer back in the day. And for some reason, it's just like, that was like trying to do too much with something and then fumbling it. That's the example of that. That's basically it, yeah. Mississippi Senate approves alternate medical marijuana program hours after defeating it. Minnesota marijuana legalization bill gets first hearing next week. And an update on Virginia. Marijuana legalization bill takes another step toward finish line. I'll fill you in on where they're at with that and what still has to be done to get that committee that needs to be done to get the bill passed and reconciled between the House and the Senate. We'll tell you the differences in this MarijuanaMoment.net article. Also, big thanks to MarijuanaMoment.net and the awesome folks, Tom Anhel over there. Works hard every day, yelling at lawmakers, patting lawmakers on the back, doing the shiz that I was really wanted to do and build a network of. And I was so proud of him. And I don't know him personally, but I'm extremely proud of what they do over there. And I have to give credit to them where credit is due, baby. To everybody that writes cannabis stories, we try and tell you where it came from. All right. Anyway, and then I also have possibly, if y'all are doing nothing later, we might... Full screen doesn't work. Anyway, if we get to it, we'll get to it eventually. I'm sure we'll play Reefer Madness a ton of times. It'd be cool to make a parody. It'd be cool to like sit down with like one or two other people and do the voices. You know, because I imagine I'm as good as some of these cats that do the GTR RP, you know, as good as like Saturday Night Live writers, which is not saying too much these days, but some of that shit is all ad lib. That's crazy. Anyway, that would be funny to do that. And who knows, if we crashed and burned, it would be hilarious to watch it crash and burn. All right, did somebody say something before I get into this? Nope. You can't keep the viewers here. They're like, people come in and they're like, 2 seconds. They either get bored with the news or I'm a jackass. Is it that am I doing too much with the show? I'm not trying to sound woe is me right now. I'm actually like, what do we change about me? Besides everything. Never really been in that before because, I wanted to. I'm pretty open to change. I'm, unlike a lot of other people, way more open to change. It's the ability to change. Understanding the process and understanding yourself is one thing, and then doing things different. I can understand things and myself. Just shut up. Conservationists are calling on the public to stop milking toads as it is. What I meant there is that I'm more open probably now. More than ever. Okay? I have to explain everything. Conservationists are calling on the public to stop milking toads as it is threatening the survival of the species. The scenario... Even the toad name got me. The Sonoran desert toad, also known as Bufo alfarius. Oh my god. I skipped the name the first run through on this. Are you serious? No wonder why goddamn hippies are milking the toad. The toad is called Boof. Oh. I mean, is literally the Bufo toad. Possesses a potent psychedelic compound called 5-MeOI-DMT, which can be used for hallucinogenic purposes. In order to get your hands on the white slime, giggity. After milking the toad, you must tickle the animal's glands until this is secreted. I could have said it a little sexier, but I wanted to say it slow so it's sunk in with you. This white slime that you must tickle from the glands of the toad. Licking toads will not give you warts or produce a fairy prince, but it might get you high, wrote one author in the LA Times. Why are conservationists making the plea? Orally ingesting toad secretions has been referred to in popular culture and in scientific literature as toad licking in the past. I mean, it's like you get to that point in the article and you're like, oh, they're going to come up with something creative for this back in the day. Or the article really did some research and came up with something awesome. Toad liquor. Man, that's something I called my brother when I was like 6 years old. It was like when you were a little kid and you said it and then something came flying across the other room where your mom was and you didn't think she was there and it smacked you. She was mad she heard you say it. That's how silly it is. But while the licking has become more of an urban myth nowadays, if my brain just absolutely in the wrong place right now. I mean, it's like the word licking hit me there and it was like... I have the broadcaster turned on, so there are certain like lead-ins that there's a built-in shock that I have that draws the attention of, oh shit, we might get in trouble or fired or fined. We're not really having to deal with that anymore here, but it's still built in. What's it called? It's still a defense mechanism at this point. Plus, when it comes to the, sexual talk or whatever, I could turn red in the face. Where were we? Besides talking about secretion. Giggity. Researchers are concerned a process of over-milking could result in a danger to the species' survival. Strange thing is when they talk about research of over-milking of another species' gland, that it's, you know, better. It leads to better survival, you know? Just less cancer. I apologize. We cannot go that. Like, maybe a few people have the show on in their dispensaries or, you know, in their glass shop or whatever. They're like, oh, we're never turning that on again. Well, he was funny to a point where he was being a silly moron, but now he's just being obscene. In 2017, his appearance in an episode, we're talking about Robert Anthony Villa, not Bob Villa, but Robert Anthony Villa is a research associate at the University of Arizona Desert Laboratory and president of Tucson Herpetological Society. At this point, you got to think, like, am I being trolled here with this article? Did I troll myself in my fact-finding mission of, is this reliable? It's like a Onion article. The Herpetological Society. Where your mama went for. Okay, that was too far. Okay, enough. We won't do it again. I promise you. It will happen again in a game, but oh jeez. I'm trying to be too cute now. Too cute. All right, your mom did not go to the Herpetological Society to be studied, okay? She's not a toad. That's definitely arguably the funniest thing I've said to myself all month. It's awesome because all the funny things are recorded now, because it's pretty much the only time I ever talk out loud. The other thing that's weird, like, speaking of that, is that some people don't have, like, an inner dialogue. They don't talk to themselves and, like, don't hear. Some people don't hear voices. You don't hear your own voice talking things out with yourself. And I thought that was insane. How like, it must be nice to go through life living so peacefully, really, when it comes down to it. Anyway, randomness. Your mom, Herpetological Society. That's funny. That belongs in XQC's chat. Never mind. We'll stop there. In 2017, his appearance, the alternate Bob Vila, the trippy Bob Vila, in an episode of psychedelics-based show Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. My enunciation doesn't want to work today. My brain just doesn't want to get serious because it knows it has to, like, put the jaw in a certain relaxed position to form sentences, and not where you think I was going with that, and where the entire show is completely gone, and that's the gutter. But Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia, which is a very interesting show. I know Blunny follows that, the homie. Also does a drone podcast on YouTube. If there's a couple people here in the chat, I can't see the numbers. I don't know. I am just entertaining myself at this point, no matter if there were 5 million people here for me. But Blunny, if you're here, or if Bike's here, you want to throw that YouTube link. Maybe you guys be interested if you're interested in drone shiz. But yeah, he's got his shiz going on, far more successful in a far shorter period of time than JDR is currently. So big shout out to Blunty. It is not easy to accomplish these things. On Vice, we're talking about the Robert Anthony Villa. That is not the home builder. He was discussing an international toad venom smoking phenomenon. Villa then did an online presentation in September 2020 where he outlined the risks involved, covering the history and misconceptions surrounding this iconic toad. as well as conservation initiatives to help it. This toad was on screen for long enough that I actually am starting to think that the toad's a little bit cute. You know, like got to looking at his big chubby arms right here. Muscular arms, really, when it comes down to it. This dude's jacked. I mean, he's a little older. You know, he had a stomach and he was doing the heavyweight fights in his prime. And now that he's older, he's trimmed up. He's got a little bit of skin hanging here off the edge. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. You know, he's got his little Yoda fingers here. Those are cute, you know, because we've been conditioned to enjoy Yoda, especially the baby Yoda. I haven't seen the series, but I already know he's cute. And then his big ass eyes here. Yeah, maybe it's just because this frog is the hypno frog and he's hypnotized me. All right. We have obviously not got any sleep. Cute frogs. On a long list of today's long list. The Sonoran desert toad, sometimes referred to as Colorado River toad, is found in northern Mexico and southwestern United States. How does Colorado end up at the center of everything trippy right now? I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. That was a reach. The dark, leathery green animal can grow to about 19 centimeters long and is the largest toad in the U.S., second to the non-native cane toad. It lives between 10 and 20 years in the wild. Damn. That's a long time. Its psychoactive properties are so strong that dogs have suffered paralysis or even death when attacking one. Goddamn doggos. It's like, they say curiosity killed the cat, but really, more often this is a horror. Oh. You talking of... My apologies. Switch complete direction on that one. Touchy subject at this point in time. I apologize. Raccoons have learned to pull toad away from a pond by the back leg, turn it on its back, and feed it on its belly. A strategy that keeps the raccoons well away from its poison glands. What the... And then we have trash pandas in here. No story that we have just jumped the shark on is complete without a entrance of the trash panda. Raccoons have learned to pull a toad away from a pond by the back leg, turn it on its back, and feed on its belly. I swear to God, if you ever see a trash panda licking a toad's crotch, were you ever really going to say anything to the trash panda in the first place? I don't think so. But if you do, fair enough. God, raccoons are such bastards. The species is classified as endangered, obviously, because we're talking about it here. Stop licking toads and killing them. And you know, if you lick the toad, do you really think the toad's mate is going to be happy with that? And you think that structure and process in the toad hierarchy and giggity is going to work out in the end? You know, it's not only that you possibly do damage to the toad physically in different ways, which sounds really weird as I said it, and or two, you could be damaging a relationship. You know, did you ever think of that? No, because you only thought of yourself. Five MEOI. Wait, they were endangered. Did we say that? Species classified endangered is in California and listed threatened in New Mexico, being continually abused by people searching for a psychedelic experience, however, might just push them over the edge to extinction. All said and done. I did approach this story with a funny outlook on it, but also a very serious outlook because just as I do not want to extinguish and extinct from the earth these frogs, they should have a right to exist without assholes sticking their tongue in the frog's asshole. What have we done today? What have we done? The sad thing is, I'm almost proud of this right now. I'm legitimately almost proud of this. 5-MeOI DMT can also be made in a laboratory, a solution that may protect the toads as thrill seekers turn to synthetic alternatives. A recent study in the journal ACS Omega reveals a new method for synthesizing the drug that is 99.8% pure. To raise money for the toads, hey Telly, it's your first project. Get on it. To raise money for the Toads Conservation Campaign, Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia director, Hamilton Morris, reissued a classic pamphlet on the toad with a new section on conservation and laboratory synthesis. We're not going to bring up Instagram. Positive effects on mental well-being when vaporized. A single deep inhalation of the toad slime produces a powerful psychoactive effect within 15 seconds. The user usually experiences a warm sensation, euphoria, and a strong visual and auditory hallucination. However, these results have been misinterpreted as an excuse to harm toads, said not builder Bob Vila. The trippy Bob Vila. The author of the report went on to write 2 more studies asking people to leave the toads alone. Some experts believe we already possess levels of DMT in our brains and claim the pineal gland is what releases it when we dream. It's also known as the Joe Rogan experience. The gland was described as the seat of the soul by French philosopher Descartes. And this is outside of all the funniness I'm making with this. The history of psychedelics is incredibly fascinating to me. And I've tried to ingest as much of it as I can on all levels. Now, compared to some of you who eat psychedelics like a goddamn Tic Tac, I am in no way a certified astronaut. Bike left me by myself one time when I was coming down the last couple hours of trip, and I barely could handle it then. No, where is he? Bike's like, dude, I had to sleep. God, I'm a pain in the ass. Oh, jeez. Some experts believe we possess levels of DMT in our brains and claim the pineal gland, is what I just said. And when you die, near-death experiences, etc., possibly. DMT, that being what you're experiencing. Inspired by the pineal gland, festivals and transformational retreats have been created in which visitors allegedly take the drug together. One festival claims ancient traditions are lovingly and respectfully continued in an experience. I've been talking here for however knows how long, and I haven't, since I unmuted the show, and my brain panicked that I was muted for some reason right there. I mean, you could go back, take the clip. You'll see get it together. No, but people in the audience are saying you should mute yourself. Hey, check the... Oh, by the way, okay, let me finish this. I didn't talk about this either. That's because there's really not that many people here to reap the benefits of it. Let me get to that in a second. The rewards. Actually, you know what? We've got where we left off highlighted. I've got this notepad right here. We're going to talk about rewards. Look at that. For anybody that said I could not learn and could not improve. Proof right there. One festival claims ancient traditions are lovingly and respectfully continued in an experience infused and inspired by nature, but Vila points out, say it one more time, motherfucker, I dare you, points out that this may be a dubious claim, as toad slime was only discovered psychedelically in the 80s. I mean, really, though? I mean, really? 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 The 1980s? I mean, really? Studies have shown that consuming the drug can produce sustained enhancement of satisfaction with life and can decrease levels of anxiety and depression. But a 2019 trial at Johns Hopkins University, Maryland, also suggests that depression can be alleviated when users take the synthetic version of the compound. So it is not necessarily for toads to suffer to improve humans' well-being. Okay. And before I use the restroom here real quick, and we wind this story down, just as I've mentioned to you with cannabis and all the ingredients with cannabis, why, taking it apart and having the cannabinoids and terpenes individually, having different effects on you, having different effects on the person next to you. Hopefully there's nobody directly next to you right now, unless you live with them. But the effects that you have are not mimicked by anyone else, really. You may have something like it and very similar, but the unique makeup and biological incredibleness that is your body and is another person's body has far too many variables with the cannabinoids of pot. Since we're talking about Reaver Madness today, I haven't said pot in a long time on my own. But they have those different effects with different combinations, different people, different experiences. And just as they mentioned here in the DMT, and I'm kind of drawing big lines here, but it is in the same category of explanation and science and hypothesis that, 98% of this natural DMT has been mapped and then is synthetically produced almost to 100%. And it's just those few key building blocks that might be some of the most important building blocks. The 0.05%, the 0.1%, the 1, whatever it may be, you may be at that 99, 98. But if it doesn't have that key or something to trigger, or that's not the right word I was looking for. Something to push the dominoes in layman's terms. That's how we put anything. Those variables. Yeah. So it's interesting to see that in the synthetic version of DMT as the things that I know and we know about cannabis and the cannabinoids, aka terpenes, that go along with it and those effects and stuff. And the beginning stages we are of that and learning. It's exciting, man. It's exciting. Now we just need to get the rest of the world excited about learning these things, And the first part of that, I guess, I don't know what the chicken egg conversation is what we have is like, do the people or regulators demand providers, dispensaries, companies give them this education in the long run? Or do these providers and those in the industry operating take charge and go the extra step? Instead of just giving the little pamphlets and skimming over falsities of cannabis, and having slogans of your company like oil. What is it? God damn it. I almost had it going smooth into the break there, but nah. All right. Oil designed with flower in mind. or cartridges that are said to be full spectrum extract, but really, they're not. They don't really have anything else in them besides the distillate and the additives of that. With that, not of that. So anyway, I'm gonna go use the restroom. I will be right back. I'm gonna try and look at if anybody said anything in the chat and not look at the number of people. Oh god. Which pamphlet did you order? I'll find out when I get back. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. It is the JDI. I am Tim. Like I said, it takes a special kind of person. Bringing out the pro. It's John Doe. Oh, hell no. I'm not gonna have you guys listen to that while I'm not gonna go listen to that while I was in the restroom. We'll give you something better. Plus, that was the last song on there, so we were just about to go dark anyway. You're fired. You're fired, John Doe. You're fired. Hey, Telly, send me music that's free of rights that I can put on the show and use as beds. What's this lust? Keeping in the theme of today. Let us see what it is. All right, I'll be back. Oh, wait. You goddamn idiot. Reset the keys. All right, here we go. I'll be right back. I promise we'll keep it together, and we still have a ton of stories to get to. Awesome stuff. So rather than being a shorter show like I thought it was going to be, we'll make it entertaining and then finish off strong with news. It is the JDI.
You're listening to the John Doe Radio Show. John Doe Radio.
Oh shit. Back with you on the JDR. The mic was not muted. That's good. I didn't say something stupid to myself. If anything, this COVID has prepared me to not say something stupid on a hot mic because, you know, we've prepared ourselves for not saying anything at all for the past year. This past year might be legitimately the least amount of words. You guys like the top of my head? The least amount of words said in the history of JDR. Or of Tim. Referring to myself in the third person. Of me. Alright, where are we at? Let me get some more breaths first and then put some more beds in here. Whew. Man, I redid shiz. And now I can't find anything. You redid shiz to find things and now you can't even find them. Great job. You're a genius. You win a prize. All right. Here we go. Man, I can't wait to get like cool shit. Oh wait, we were gonna talk about some shiz first. Doesn't look too bad when I have the white screen up and it's literally like an LED light, white light at me right here. If you're just joining us, not normally this dark around. I have usually the lights on a little bit brighter, etc., etc., etc. I also got a neck beard going on. Bike saying cookies, best weed in Colorado, at a dispensary. Greenery makes Lebanese and Moroccan hash. All right, where were we at? You know, this we're talking about it takes a certain type of ego or whatever here, and since it's basically, you know, I'm talking to Bike and Telly here, and as I was saying earlier, you know, like this past week, it's both been talking about the show and effort put into it. You know, jumping over hurdles and trying to get back into the swing of, you know, just some normal shiz and the swing of, you know, taking something seriously, making a good attempt at something and doing, you know, the best you can do and improving every day, etc. I've been pretty stoked with that, but, you know, at the same time, it's been both some of the, you know, most rewarding, because I really haven't done a whole lot of shit in the past couple of years. But since Pop's passed away, it's been some of the most rewarding time I've spent with myself. The most healthy, rewarding time that I've spent with myself. You do not want to check the Pornhub numbers. Hours watched. Oh my God. No. I don't know what's wrong with me today. It's exactly this what I'm talking about right now. You know, it's lack of sleep in this. You get to a point to where, yes, you have that and it feels good and you feel like you're making progress, you know. And it's some of the best awesome shiz that you can get, and some of the best awesome feelings that I've had on a consistent basis here for the past couple of weeks doing the show, which I'm stoked about. I knew that was going to be something. Everybody else knew, you know. Pick up and do something you enjoy. Yeah, I told you so's come through or whatever. But as I said, you know, after my brother passed in December, you know, more so than anything else that should have created that spark, you have this spark of get up and do something, you know. It's like there, get up, like just a fire that started. So try to grab that fire, you know, light a torch, try to have that guide you, find where you're headed, and much like this train of thought on JDR, getting lost and then figuring out how to find your way back to a familiar path, or at least something that feels comfortable, and maybe you can forge a new path at the same time. But you know, sometimes it does. It takes us, you know, reaching out to grab that banister to kind of secure ourselves and right ourselves, get a hobby, whatever, etc. Blah blah blah. I'm not saying shit that, you know, you all don't know, but you know, also at the same time having the same thing be some of the most discouraging and, you know, kind of depressive feelings that you can kind of have, you know. Not necessarily the first couple of shows, obviously things boost up and, you know, you get a good reaction, a decent reaction, you know. Not like a million people are flooding in, or everybody that said, hey, everyone's the show back is coming back to listen to the show. You know how that, you know it's not going to be like that, all right? We're not as naive anymore to think shit like that, to be meshing our friends of like, where are you? I do that to bike, but that's a different story. So it's a matter of maybe expecting more than what can happen right now. And that's definitely been a history with me personally, and I try not to do that anymore. You know, that's why I like today. I'm trying to have fun with it. You know, you head in this show and you're like, maybe we should do one today. Maybe we should just skip today. Maybe we should just play Reefer Madness and go on. And you're like, a part of me is like, that's a cheap way. That's cheapness, you know? We don't want to do that already. If we can create something and we can talk about something, we can get news and do the framework of what we're trying to do on a consistent everyday basis, regardless of who is here, I get comfortable with that, and you're ready for if something does fall on your plate. That's what I, you know, think of things now, and I have to remind myself of that, you know, and like today, having fun with it. And you know, normally I wouldn't get a bunch of sleep and have a headache last night and get, you know, shitty depressed and fuck, what am I gonna eat next, etc., you know? And I know a lot of people have the same type of feelings, etc. You gotta fight through that shit to be able to get up and go to work, or, you know, people take care of their kids, etc. But if you can do that, and you are doing that, hats off to you. Because, you know, I do understand, even when I don't do those things myself, that they're healthy things to do, and taking care of yourself is important. So we head into today's show. Yesterday, just that's what we need. We need a soundbite of explosion on here with a nuclear bomb that pops up on the screen. I figured out how to do all this all yesterday. It's gonna be great. And then you could overcome that and say, "Fark it." Could have used this as an excuse today. Could have said, "We're not heading forward." But yeah, that's just that. It's silly to let those type of things win, and I understand that myself. I get that. It's hard to take action in that shit than it is to, you know, say the things I can talk the talk with the best of them. This is also frustrating. You may understand some of this shiz, but then the plug going together doesn't really work. So, but there's a way, you know. Anyway, fucking I was trying for the past 2 minutes to figure out how I was gonna get out of this, and then like I was talking to like maybe 5-10 people, you know. There were a few people that were like, yeah, no, I hear you, yeah, that's understandable. No, I see you feel the same way. It's not the same situation, but anyway, healthy dumping at 11:11 Mile High time. But yeah, shiz like that. I know, I get it. That's why I haven't done JDR to this point. It's because it's just feeling emotionally capable of failing. It's really what it comes down to, is like, can you deal with failure? And if you can't do anything. Because you're gonna fail, motherfucker. So, and there's a good chance this is gonna fail. But what won't fail is your ego if you enjoy yourself sitting here talking in monologue. But like I said, that day's gonna be an end. We're not gonna be able to do that. There's a time coming very soon. We have to form income or bust. Income or off the ship. Income or we're building a shack in Arkansas on my land. Really. That's as much as I love my brother and I should go spend time. And I will. But Arkansas. The weed laws were cool there and people were like grassroots, cool stoners. It's just, maybe if I was like 25, but not 10 years later being who I am now, I just, things I've talked to you about in the past few minutes are amazing that someone like me can actually, you know, say, oh, it makes sense. Why can't I actually do this shit? You cannot get me to learn to live around and be accepted into a certain thing. I might try, but that doesn't mean the locals are gonna accept you into the mix. I would get voted off the island, just as I would be not allowed off this rock if, you know, we were close to Elon Musk. All right, we'll bring it back here. 20-year-old Kansas lawmaker. That was a good pep talk. Good pep talk. Okay, you guys are having your own conversation there. 20-year-old Kansas lawmaker introduced... This is so stupid. I have to actually look up and... We haven't done personal shiz all week, okay? We've kept the bottle closed, Telly. It hasn't been like old JDR. It's been news and good shiz. The focus. Even that was decently positive. You see how freaking cold it is outside? You can see the air. Where I'm at, I thought it was snowing, but it is actually the air is just frozen. Coldest I've felt in a long time. Even when we had snow last year and cold, I don't think it got this cold last year, did it? Bike would know these type of things because he's that. You picture Bike as like that growing older type person that has like a bird feeder outside, you know, is checking the weather, knows what the weather's been for the past week or so. And, you know, these are the simple things that, you know, he doesn't care if and I'm not saying this is Bike, this is just what I imagine that he doesn't care necessarily what he doesn't care if he needs to talk about it with somebody else. All right. It's just like he knows it is good enough, you know, that type of thing. He's not going to offer it up to you, even if you talk about it or ask about it. It's not necessarily, you're not necessarily going to get the goods, you know, you're not going to get the expertise for maybe a person like that. That's the chill I see Bike growing older with. What did he say? I always know the weather. I mean, generally speaking, being from Colorado, we've been pretty... what's the word? I was going to say bred there. Wrong word. We've been pretty... I think the brain is starting to shut down. We've been brainwashed. You know what would be funny is like Telly, speaking of Telly, if Derek, which I haven't talked to Derek in a long time. But it'd be funny if he was also listening into this one. He'd be like, no, nothing's changed. In Colorado, because the weather changes so much and it's so crazy here, I thought I was going to look up to the screen. I'm moving this over. God dang it. I'm so worried that I'm going to screw up the left side, which has the video. I'm just moving that over. I thought you were going to be like, oh, no, he's right here. He's right here. Might be. In that case, what up, big homie? Big homies. All right, finish out what we were talking about. The weather. In Colorado, we've just had so much... it's a crazy weather place, like other crazy weather places. And generally, is to kind of see, what the low is going to be. Maybe during the winter or during the summertime or in the fall. To see maybe if you needed a coat or something like that. It ended up being that I just wore pants all the time with my Adidas and then a pullover 24/7. So that was all you needed. And then when I lived up in Northwest Colorado, I kind of had to have a big jacket up then. This song in particular, this bed, it gets stuck in my head. I hate it, but it's so good. I can't bring myself to get rid of it because it's so good, but I swear to goodness, for the rest of the day, I'll hear that song. And then there's one other one that's what I hear. We'll just fart in the house right now. What up to the house? Keeping you warm with the smooth sounds and subtle voice, Mr. John Doe. All right, back to news. Can you imagine if I were like actually have a real boss in radio with a show like this where I was given the reins for? Do you know the things that I asked you guys today about, wanting a producer to come in that situation? It would be like, lock the door. How can I get away with not going through my air check this week with the station director who's going to tell me everything? You're going to tell me every word coming out of my mouth is wrong. And here's how to do it. Maybe that is what we need, and we just need to shut up and listen. One thing they teach you in recovery, your way is not working. Do you agree?
Yes, I agreed. My way is not working, as proof of the reasons why I am here today, and I take it seriously.
I'm not making a joke on that at all. What have we done today? What was the last goddamn thing I was going to say in that statement? The recovery, which, that goes hand in hand. It's perfect. Perfect. We dropped it. Telly, what was I saying? Notice I asked Telly, not Bike, because he waiting for the day Bike tells me one day, he's like, I know what you're saying, and then he like trolls me, types out something, and like I actually go with it. It's like, that guy's an idiot. Wrong person to ask. You're like me right now during the show where you're just high and zoning out. You're not really listening, you're not really paying attention, you're not really here, you're not really there. It's just kind of happening. No, I get it. I'm there. I'm with you. You were off in space. Yes, so am I. No, I knew it. We're getting so good at giving it enough time, and if we don't get that frustrated, we can bring it back around. Oh, yeah. So, your way is not working, so it's time to try another way. Try to get too cute and creative with the voice, and laughed at myself. I forgot where I was going. Which, yeah, is one of the main sticking points of me being sober from alcohol at the time. I stopped because I was like, at that point, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I really am going to crash this thing over the edge of a cliff. I should probably give up. We're probably at that point right now with multiple things, like career path. All right, let's talk about news. 3 tabs to the left in a different browser. Hey, at least, I mean, you got it up. You got it rolling. I should have had it rolling in the background on my Twitch too at the 180p. Mute the browser so we had, 3 people in here. You're still working on it. Working on no, I wasn't necessarily hinting to that like ad or whatever. Are you talking about the ad, the post? No, I'm not necessarily talking about that. Oh, still working on the PC. This is a situation of if they build it, they will come. Like, I know there's really nobody here, and there's probably not a lot of people that have made it this far into the YouTube. And if you have made it this far into the YouTube, I know the people that are here. If you made it this far into the YouTube, send me an email. John Doe, no, just come to my Discord. Wait. Does the Twitter, Discord, get in contact with me and tell me you made it this far into the YouTube, and we will figure something out. I'll ship you a candle over here. But that's why I feel like we can kind of like get loose with it and kind of discuss shit right now. Plus Telly's here, so you get to have like a little more better one-to-one discussion with someone I know, which is it's always weird in this situation because I just feel like you should just hop into Discord and we go live and you can talk to you in voice. But then you're probably saying you are way too much for me right now, man. I need you to calm down before we get vocal together. But yeah, no, as long as which this sounds really lame. But it's true. As long as Bike and another person are here, we can keep doing this for a minute. I think pretty much we're gonna keep attempting the JDR until we run the train off the cliff, and then during that process, try to use momentum to pull in a safety net, alternate. Anyway, what I'm saying is, stop looking at the number. That fucking number is depressing. I'll tell you right now. Going from not with JDR, just in broadcast media and doing radio to now and having that number. And I keep telling myself that you are an egotistical son of a bitch when you want to be. So just tap into that and you'll be fine for as long as you need it to be. It's so hard not to be in control of the shit you don't have control of. You know? Like, it's so tough. So mentally in control of shit like that is just, for me, has always been like some of the most nerve-wracking shit, you know? And as I've grown older, it becomes like a one-way street of a roadblock sometimes. So I'm really working on that side of it. So the fact we're here, we're doing this is big. You know, I pat myself on the back for that. But and then part of it, I think, is also punishment to myself. Like, I think there's an internal part of me that wants to punish myself for dropping the ball and stopping when I did and going the path that I did. And now, like, this is part of your punishment now, still. You made your bed. It's your bed, dude. You're still laying in it. It's still the same bed. And it's true. It's very true to a certain extent, at a certain point. Also, part of the reason why I didn't want to come back and relive these fucking the growing pains. All right. Anyway, back to seriousness and literally not holding my friend and not holding my friends hostage as psychiatrists. The concept of Twitch and broadcasting and doing what we do is funny in general, and having fun with it is just a very fun and free, carefree thing. This is what it should be. And you know damn well we get 30, 40, 50, 10 people in here. You know, we get the crowd. We get 20 people in here. Like the beginning, the Stickam days, where, you know, we had like anywhere from 0 to what, I don't know, 150 people there at the beginning or whatever. I may be thinking there may have been more, there may be less. But you know damn well that this is going to be a war between me and the people that get here. The people that don't even know me yet, I know exactly how they're going to react to me. They're going to become trolls. Because it's just like, I bring out the best troll in people. It's what I do. It's a specialty. It's an expertise. I'm good at it, you know. Become proud of it. Not really, but... as long as we get some education and effectiveness done with it. It would be nice to eventually end up with a company that does education in cannabis. On some form. Just as we said we were going to be the Tom and Hell and marijuana moment back then.
You gotta have pipe dreams to get ahead in life, kid. Time is relative.
20-year-old Kansas lawmaker. As we get back in the news. Introduced a bill on Tuesday to broadly decriminalize drug possession in the state. Representative Aaron Coleman, who defeated a 7-term incumbent in a Democratic primary last year, filed the legislation. He told Marijuana Moment in a phone interview on Wednesday that he was inspired by a voter-approved initiative in Oregon that ends the threat of jail time for simple drug possession. We can monologue for like 10 minutes, but then once we start reading the news and like enunciating and moving the mouth, cotton mouth, and have to take a drink every 5 seconds. But no, you sit there and yap about yourself nonstop, no problem, no cracks in the voice. All right, I'll stop. Seriousness. Representative Aaron Coleman, defeated 7-term incumbent, filed the legislation. Inspired by we already read that whole guy. I thought I was farther down. Thought I'd be able to save it, but nope. Eject. That's what got me into this, said Aaron Coleman. But, you know, I've always really believed that drug use is a mental health problem and not a criminal one. It needs to be treated like that. Under his proposal, possession of the controlled substances for personal use would be considered a civil offense punishable by $100 fine. For people caught in possession of drugs other than marijuana, prosecutors would also refer them to mandatory treatment, and failure to comply could result in a misdemeanor conviction that carries up to 5 days in jail, a maximum of $250 fine, and 6 months of probation. This is what we were talking about earlier this week, or what I brought up with you, that just because there is a viewed separation, a reformed prosecutorial approach, if you will, to cannabis doesn't mean that the road doesn't lead back to jail. And I get that. You can be a jackass, well, whatever. But when it comes down to it, you fail the drug court or you fail treatment, which very rarely, the first time somebody tries to recover off of drugs, do they make it successfully through without having some sort of mistake and something that happens in there. I hate the word relapse. It's such a shitty word either. Such shit connotations and etc. Blah blah blah. There we go. Blah blah. Eject. I love myself. I love myself. You gotta keep telling yourself that. Yeah. For people caught in possession of drugs. So, bringing it around again, not forgetting what we were talking about. Drug laws, even in the state of Colorado, which currently I think that I have to check. I want to say that I don't think for possession of drugs. This sounds so wrong. I would like to think that in the recent passage of some reforms that the drug is pretty hard to make it out of drug court. And it's not like your first, second time, I think, that you're tossed out. Either way, states and nationally need to be moving towards the direction of consistent treatment and improving our mental health care system to the point where it can actually support mental health, period, which is a massive need, and then drug use, which files under mental health, and have that system operating a little bit better, a lot better than it is today. Especially if we're going to toss somebody back in jail because of a failure of them to not recover. Granted, their actions are their actions, and you're responsible for what you do. Addiction is one hell of a mother trucker, though, without making an excuse for anyone or anything. And to say that you are going to help someone a certain way and you have a system laid out for this person and it's going to operate like this, and this is what we expect, and the system falls short, doesn't work for every single person in the same way, just as recovery is in different ways in different people, because as we mentioned, everybody has a different makeup biologically. We don't operate the same way. Not one given person really thinks, operates, has the same makeup, all that shit. So to say, hey, you fucked up, you failed, we're going to throw you back into this failed system we know doesn't work, and this is what we had to fix it, you still didn't do it. It's so pompous and like jackass hattery of us. Even in JDR terms, that didn't make sense, but just go with it. And it's frustrating to see that, because we should be doing so much more. But when you say, hey, where's the treatment side? Where's the standards on that? And they are lacking. People's will to get better and people's will to get treatment and self-realization is one thing. Okay, get that. And you may find something that works. You may have that round peg that fits in the round hole, and voila, bam, we're good. Had a few problems in the process, but still, you ended up pretty good. Which is relatively it was my story. I consider myself pretty lucky that I had safety net as I did when I was trying to recover, and then also at the same time had learned my lesson that that doesn't work. Like you were trapped and trying to get out, Don't forget that, okay? Going back to the door and going back in is insanity, period, okay? That's what I've told myself in the times where I've wanted to drink. It's like, you want to drink. That's what you're telling yourself. But you also know exactly how you're going to feel and exactly the process. It's like you tell yourself you want to drink and you feel this certain way, but then at the same time, the experience comes in and is like, you know damn well you ain't going to feel that way. And it goes probably for every other drug. Luckily for me, I got to that point of realization where I knew clearly I was not going to get what I wanted. There was nothing left for me to drain from alcohol. Which is a very sinister way to put it, but I mean that's what it comes down to with recovery to get better for most people. You know, they've had it. Taken all they can, and if you haven't taken all you can, sometimes that's when you still have that mindset, or and I hate speaking for everyone, but that's in my opinion and from my experience with others, that's where that comes in, is that there's still either the want to punish yourself or to punish people on the outside by doing these things because you think it's going to punish them, or two, you still feel like there's a little bit of joy left in that. Which is the far more scary part of those two, in my opinion, for me. Because I can talk myself out of doing a stupid act like punishing myself with alcohol or drugs, and thoughtfully. You say you can, but can you? But the other side of that coin, of thinking that there's still something to gain on that, is one of the scariest thoughts ever. For an addict, that thought really never kind of goes away, I guess, for everybody, but you have the understanding, the chemistry may kick on sometimes, but that's where your mentality says, hey, look, nah, dipshit. You know damn well that's not how it's going to work out. So, yeah, and someday I see myself as like counselor, drug counselor. I don't think I could go to school and do drug counseling the way that it is now. I would have to go to school, learn everything as is, and then develop my own practice. Get to that point. Hopefully we haven't been, whatever they call it when you're kicked out of psychiatry. Psych barred, whatever it is. I don't know. Probably just lose your license. That would be me.
You're like, well, John Doe, there's a pretty wide standard set for not losing your license as a psychiatrist. It kind of goes in with the whole mentality of what the job is and expanding the brain.
Now, trust me, we would lose a license. It's exactly why it's probably a good thing I did not waste 10 years on and godless amounts of money on becoming a lawyer. Because really, we'd probably be sitting in the same exact position. I'd just be disbarred. And it would be able to give you like legitimate, crazy legal advice and be like, I was once a lawyer. Instead of, I once sat next to a lawyer. The bill, getting back to Kansas here, we haven't even made it through 2 stories. And we are 2 hours in. So this is what like having a talk zoo radio show is like. You just ramble about dumb shit. I will stick with the past 2 hours of me being here right here on the John Doe Radio Show is better than anything on terrestrial radio right now.
You gotta have an ego to do what I do, folks.
That's also saying how crappy actual radio is. It's like your news director or the program director handing you a piece of paper and he says, hey, can you read that? You're like, yeah, I can read this. What do you want me to do with it? No, I want you to read it on air, and that's what you're going to say. And then you're going to go clean the toilet. Let's get through a few more stories before we completely run out of steam. Kansas 20-year-old lawmaker. We mentioned under his proposal, possession of a controlled substance for personal use would be considered a civil offense punishable by a $100 fine. For people caught in possession of a drug other than marijuana. Can I put this over here? Yeah, I can. Nope, that's what I want right there. Oh, and then I wrote it down and we never got to it. The rewards. We might as well interrupt the story one more time. Bike, check it out. Or if there's anybody else in here, I can't see the number. Probably no one. But check it out. Go down to the John Doe Radio's rewards and challenges where your points are. Stash credits. Oh, yeah. You got all the normal ones like modify, single emote, unlock random sub emote. Highlight. I gotta get better at running this stream deck. Highlight does a second. There we go. I had to check to make sure there was nothing on the screen that shouldn't be on the screen. You idiot. But like this is right here. All the reward stuff. It was like choose an emote to unlock. Add time, 1,500 points. That's because, the Twitch community is helpful with the ads. Send a message sub mode only. That's the normal one. I can't say a word for a few minutes, a certain word. Because I know I'm going to get shit for that. Pick a game to play. And then there was also shut up. I think it's like 5 minutes. They're pretty good. I think they're not bad. They're not bad. We'll see how out of control they get, how quickly things fall apart if anybody does come in. Like, dang it, we need people here so we can test. So we can test the fences. All right, stop thinking about it. Comes up more wishingly right now. Just we can have more fun with people. All right, main display, second display, bam, bam, bam. Easy. All right. Bill would also reduce penalties for manufacturing and distribution of controlled substances, lowering the sentencing requirements for people convicted of such offenses. However, Coleman stressed that drug offenses beyond simple possession would still result in felony charges. That's part of the messaging he intends to bring to the legislature. Like I add that bass when I'm slouching a little bit to the back in my throat. We start talking about the stories. I gotta do the broadcast voice. And the programming is like, oh, now you want to do the broadcast voice. Bill would reduce penalties for manufacturing or distributing controlled substances, lowering the sentencing requirement for people convicted of such offenses. However, Coleman stressed... God, we read that again. That's part of the messaging he intends to bring to the legislature as he attempts to persuade skeptical lawmakers about the need for reform. It was just so nice. I felt you guys needed to hear it thrice. It's in no way legalizing manufacturing or distribution. They're still going to be classified as a felony, Coleman said. What this is going to do is allow police to stop focusing on the small-time users and focus on the distributors and manufacturers of these drugs. This bill, if anything, is a gift to the police because I already like this. If anything, this bill is a gift to you, police. You hear me? You sons of bitch. You're going to take this bill and you're going to like it. Because it allows them to focus on the true criminals and not just the end user. This bill's introduction comes as Kansas lawmakers and the governor step up their push to legalize medical cannabis in the state. Governor Laura Kelly recently announced a plan to enact the policy change and use marijuana tax revenue to fund Medicaid expansion in the state. Coleman said there's a possibility that Decriminalization proposal could be attached to medical cannabis legislation, but whether it is included or not, marijuana reform itself has already proved to be a thorny issue in the state's Republican-controlled legislature, where legalization bills stalled in the committee last session. This song again. The Gen Z lawmaker said that another bill he filed, which would require lobbyists to wear body cameras while pushing their agendas and make those videos public record, could help advance drug policy reform by bringing transparency to the players working to maintain the prohibitionist status quo. This kid ain't farking around. Lobbyists wearing body camera. I mean, that is, man. That's a very incredibly interesting topic that you could talk about that in itself for a long time. Holy shit. Holy shit. I think absolutely if we can get those body cameras, we'll get more people involved, and we're going to really highlight the corruption that's going on and probably get these people to self-regulate. I mean, this guy's got a pretty good idea here. There's probably other things I would have gone on or looked towards, and there other lawmakers would have been and are looking towards. This seems like it's maybe like a too far reaching and maybe something that would be weirdly not effective. Then I thought about it a little bit more, and it's actually it's genius. I mean, it's a fantastic idea. In any case, when it comes to drug decriminalization, 2021 has already seen lawmakers in a number of states take on the issue. Last week, Washington state legislators introduced legislation that would decriminalize possessing small amounts of illicit drugs and expand treatment programs for people with substance disorders. A bill introduced last month by a New York senator. My brain is kicking more and more into autopilot and putting words where they do not belong.
Stop it.
I'm gonna... Goddamn gerbils running the show up there. Gonna get one less carrot at the end of this. Shame. I'm kidding. We aren't cruel to animals.
Does he really think that there's gerbils in his head?
Decriminalize low-level possession of any controlled substance instead levy fines of $50. In New York, activists across the country have also been pursuing a more targeted decrim model to deprioritize enforcement of laws against psychedelics like psilocybin and ibogaine. Republican lawmaker in Iowa introduced a bill Tuesday to remove psilocybin from the list of controlled substances. In California, as we mentioned, we talked about that yesterday, or we mentioned the story on Tuesday, but didn't really read it. We were just remarking on how psychedelics have become quite a popular topic in very wide-reaching places in the United States. So, I mean, Iowa. In California, a lawmaker said last year that he planned to file a bill that would decriminalize psychedelics, and activists are hoping to see further legislation to broadly remove criminal penalties for simple drug possession. Legislators, as we have talked about, in Connecticut, Florida, Hawaii, Texas, and Virginia are also considering psychedelic and drug policy reform bills for the 2021 session. So yeah, this is a very interesting and cool topic that has come up. I like the research that comes along with this. After failing to gain the needed 3/5 vote in a first try Thursday night, Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, imagine your name is Delbert Hosemann, held the Senate over into the Friday morning, and it passed a legislative alternative to the medical marijuana program voters approved in November. Oh yeah, by the way, this is in Mississippi. Talking about Mississippi. So they clapped a program proposal and then passed one right after that. And this is the story. Senate Bill 2765, authored by Senate Medicaid Chairman Kevin Blackwell, passed 30-19 on Friday morning at about 1:15 a.m. The bill had failed a Thursday night vote, 30-21, needing 31 to pass. The lesser number for passage was needed in the wee hours Friday because some senators were absent, lowering the 3/5 threshold. Senators Jennifer Branning and Tammy Witherspoon, both of whom voted against the measure the first time, were absent the second vote. Oh, gee, golly darn, that's a shame. Senator, I'm not even going to try and say her last name. Senator Lydia, who voted for the bill the first time, was absent the second vote. So that... We're canceling each other out here almost. Senator Benjamin Suber had been absent for the first vote, but voted for the bill on the second vote. Yeah, we're ahead. That's obvious why it passed the second vote. It's messed up how representatives can do that. Like, you're a senator. You're not there for a vote. It's 1:15 in the morning. It's not like you're being asked to fly to the face of the sun and take a sample. The measure now heads to the House, where it faces an uncertain future. Senators included a reverse repealer in the measure, meaning the House could not pass it on to the governor without more debate in the Senate, which is, I think, pretty much how it works in Colorado. Any major changes made has to go back through the opposite house to be approved. The measure would take effect only if the court strikes down the voter-passed Initiative 65 medical marijuana program, which is now in the state constitution, but faces a challenge in the state Supreme Court. Trigger language was added to the Senate bill in an amendment on Thursday. Originally, the measure, if passed, would have created its own program, regardless of whether Initiative 65 was there or not. Are you confused? Because, you're not the only one. So basically, with what we're dealing with, is only if the state medical marijuana program they have in Mississippi right now, which, I mean, it might as well just restart. Can it be called a program? I mean, I guess it's something that's been put together. It loosely files under the word program, yes. Is it effective? No. Probably no. So if the strikes down that program, this what we're talking about now would be put into place. Trigger language is so silly. The bill would tax medical marijuana with a 4% excise at cultivation, and with a sales tax, patients would pay. In an effort to gain more support, the original 10% sales tax was amended to 7% on Thursday night. Most of the taxes collected would go to education, including early learning and college scholarships. The bill also would levy large... Knocked over the vape onto the dabber. It scared me. Mainly because I thought it was going to fall on my cojones. Where were we at? Before my junk was almost so rudely interrupted. %. Most of the taxes collected would go to education, including early learning and college scholarships. The bill would levy large licensing fees on growers and dispensary shop owners. Originally, those fees would have been $100,000 for growers, $20,000. License costing $100,000. $20,000 for dispensaries. Those were reduced to $15,000 and $5,000 respectively. You know how different... I mean, you do know how big of a difference 15 is from 100. Do you know how big of a difference $15,000 and $100,000 is? The only person that says shit like that is a person that's shocked they just heard that they had to pay that large amount of money, different from what they understood. Do you even know how much difference that is? Well, sir, I understand simple math, and we can deduce that, yes, that there is a number we can put on that. I'm talking about feeling emotion here, jackass. Oh, man, I'm getting hungry. It's getting noontime. Other changes were made in an effort to assuage those who believed such fees would keep small businesses and farms out of the game. The measure faced bipartisan opposition despite the numerous last-minute concessions to reduce its taxes on marijuana and to ensure it wouldn't thwart the Initiative 65 medical marijuana program that voters passed into the state constitution in a landslide in November. The bill in front of you does not replace Initiative 65, Blackwell told the senators before the first vote. It has trigger language. We already talked about that, how it gets put into play. And then, Marijuana Moment writes such detailed articles. It's awesome. They do such a good job, and it's most of the time. Okay, this is a different dude, and this is from Mississippi Today. Different. Most of the time, this is Kyle Yeager reading his stories. So he does a fantastic job. All right, Minnesota legalization. We'll go quick with this one and then get to Virginia. A bill to legalize marijuana in Minnesota will receive its first hearing in a House committee next week. Legislative leaders are encouraging the public to participate as they solicit testimony on the proposal. Comes a week after the legislation was filed. It would allow adults 21 and older to possess 1.5 ounces of cannabis and cultivate up to 8 plants, 4 of which could be mature. There's another state. We already mentioned that. Another state. It's the same one we were talking about, I think, last week when we were talking about home grow and not being maybe necessarily a good idea for passage. The House Commerce, Finance, and Policy Committee will meet to consider the bill on February 17th. Minnesota. All right, where are we at with Virginia? We'll go quickly, use the restroom. I'll be right back. We'll do the Virginia story, and then we'll probably cut out because I'm starving. If anybody that's here at the time at the end would like to watch Reefer Madness and tell me, I will play it for you. But yeah, I think I might get some food and relax after this news story. Yeah, I'll be right back.
The Stash.
It needed clearance from NASA. It's John Doe Radio.
Yeah, man, it's so weird. What's weird, Tim? Life. No. It's just so weird, man. Like this new feeling of like I do want to sit here and keep broadcasting. I want to like keep chilling and talking cannabis and doing this as like a service and business. Looks at watch. But Liz, like, man, it's like the whole thing we talked about earlier. It's such a struggle to overcome the literal lack of being able to bounce shit. They're putting this in a fucked up way. What I'm trying to say is like, I would like to hang out with people and enjoy the company of other people. And this be what we're using to enjoy that with. But I also don't, and I want to stay on, and I would continue to be able to talk and generate discussion. People would have feedback. It wouldn't just be a monologue for 2 hours straight, 3 hours yesterday. And I could go, there's a pretty good chance that I could do a 24-hour stream and monologue 12 hours. 24 hours is talking a lot of shit right now. All right, we ain't no sequential level of shiz right now. This is a dope beat right here, too. I like this one. This one gets stuck in my head. But like 12 hours straight, I can sit here and talk. But at a certain point, the sanity bell goes off and the ego is overcame in the wrestling match upstairs. And sanity, if you are a sane person, finally comes in and says, this is not normal. It's not normal. It is what it is. It is what it is. I've always been honest with my feelings. I'm the type of person that passion and inspiration. I usually forget that word. Inspiration is a weird word. Do you ever have a word that you always try to think of? It's a word that comes up in your vocabulary, and when you try to use it, you forget the word. And inspiration is that word. It's like been programmed in my brain to, when it's typed in, searching for this word, when I hit enter, there's like a macro that's been programmed in to troll, where instead of like pulling up the word, it dumps the word. To the point where I spent time the other day, because I use inspiration so much, it's a big word right now for me. I sat down and tried to reprogram it back into my brain. I was like, think of things that this word would come up, statements that you would say and think of where the answer that you're looking for, the word you're looking for, is inspiration, inspire. And I did that, so it works pretty good. Also a danger of recording these shows extended talking like I do, because it's proof of, you know, if there isn't sanity there, proof of that. We got a doctor. This is what's really happening is we're in the simulation, and there's a doctor, alien doctor upstairs in the ship, far, far away upstairs. He's just taking notes of me in particular, and he's like, this is a fascinating one. He is the jackass of jackasses, but, you know, he's fascinating. All right, last story. Sanity slowly slipping away. This is like an 80s movie theme too. What's that movie with that mannequin that like comes alive? Is it called The Mannequin? It's called The Mannequin. Yeah. I don't know if this song sounds like that soundtrack, but that's what I think of when I hear this song. I think of that old 80s movie, The Mannequin. For some reason as a kid, it was like, well, it was always on HBO as a kid, and for some reason I watched that movie. I remember watching that movie more than a few times, I think. There's like a pink Cadillac. I think, is that the second one? Not the movie. Virginia, where are you at? Help us save us here. Relying on Virginia to save us. Oh, God. We're screwed. Virginia House lawmakers advanced Senate legislation to legalize recreational marijuana, but amended the legislation to conform to the House version. The Senate is expected to do the same, eventually sending the bill to a conference committee comprised, also another good word for this situation, lawmakers from both chambers. So, as we mentioned, two bills address slightly different things, passed, and now there has to be a special committee that brings them together, reconciles the differences, and poops out one bill for the governor to sign. Substitute Senate Bill 1406, the House version, advanced through Democratic-controlled House General Laws Committee on a 16-5 vote. Both bills legalize the recreational cultivation, sale, and use of marijuana, with sales beginning in 2024. Yeah, we already talked about that. They would allow the sale to any person 21 or older and require ID checks similar to alcohol sale requirements. A key area in which the two bills differ surrounds local government authority. In the Senate's version, localities could prohibit the retail sale of marijuana within their jurisdiction, while in the Senate bill, there is no opt-out clause, but retail sales would still be subject to local zoning regulations. Colorado has this because we are a home rule state. Municipalities and jurisdictions can opt out of the whole shebang. It's actually interesting to think about how much they benefit from the legalization of cannabis, though, and the taxes from that. Like, you're not allowed, I don't think, to get direct tax grant from that if you turned it down. But even then, I don't even think that. I think that that's part of like an overall rule in Colorado as part of our like regulation of system and checks and balances. Or I could just be making that up completely, which is also a good possibility. I want to hate this song every time it comes up. But I don't know. Like this album that this comes from, like all of it's like 80s, and it's like it's cheesy enough just to hit that spot. It's not great, but was 80s music ever great? Some of it. Although the date for legal sales is the same in both versions, the two bills differ on when would be legal to possess marijuana. The Senate version would legalize possession as early as July 1st of this year, but the House version would not legalize possession until the sale is also legal. The Senate version would also require the legislature. See, that's a problem. If we're not legalizing possession until the sale is allowed, there's a very good chance that the sale, number one, is not going to happen until 2024 by design in the bill. And two, I mean, that's too long to put off the criminal sentencing part of it. It doesn't make any sense. And then in that time could be derailed. So now you have a situation where it's written in the law where you can't put in the criminal reform. I'm squinting so hard because it's so goddamn bright in my eyes. You're like, why are you still open? The brain is going a million miles an hour, but my eyes are like... it doesn't make any bit of sense to not enact that. There are so many things that could happen between passing and enactment that would prohibit some of the most important parts of what we're trying to do from being put into play. There are also different licensing laws. The House would impose limits on the total number of licenses provided for each category: transportation, sale, cultivation, etc. It would also prohibit an entity from holding licenses in multiple categories and limit an individual to holding only 5 licenses. The Senate version does not include any of these restrictions, which is a good thing. Like, a prohibit entity from holding licenses in multiple categories. Like, you're eventually going to need that vertical integration. This leads to an ineffective system and a failure of creating a functional industry. Maybe not in places like Colorado. And yeah. I said that, and it's like slowly came to me of like, in some places this is a good idea, but it's already where they have a basis of grassroots stability. Okay. If you're relying on, say you've got 3 quality producers. Say you've got 1 quality producer out of 3. That's shitty. Really is. Like 3 options. The amount of craziness that could go on between those 3 options, the variables of life, whatever, etc. So now you have that. Instead of having, not unlimited, but unlimited selection to be able to go and work with, other people and passing information, creating companies that are actually functional and work and make money, have good products that come out. Like, those are important in places, say, like Virginia, and Oklahoma's had a lot of outside help with it. I would have gave them as an example. It would have been example number 1 on this list of what I'm trying to get across here. Across. I hate you, Bike, so much. I don't give a shit that I say across, but every time I say it now, I got it out of my vocabulary. And then the past couple of years, less interactions with you, it's come back in. But now I say it and I beat myself up for saying it. Do I give you shit for being a masshole? No. Why you gotta give me shit for being Colorado that says his word's weird? Like a crossed. Crossed. It legitimately sounds like a perfectly fine word that I've been using my entire life, because it is. Okay? Got a problem with it? That's funny. But yeah, vertical, it's good to have control to an extent where you're trying to control growth, because it's explosive and awesome. It's a different story of capping that if growth is not explosive and awesome. Because it stifles all growth across the board. That's not a good equation for success. It's not a good outcome. Both versions pass their respective chamber. If they fail to pass the same version in both chambers, the differences will be hashed out in a conference committee and then voted on in both chambers. I swear to God, every time we read something about Virginia and their process, it's a brand new thing. So both chambers have to pass reconciling legislation, matches up, and then fail to pass the same version in both. Both versions pass the respect. All right, it's way too late. It's 12 on a Friday, and we've barely slept. If you've listened to the show to this point on YouTube, get in touch with me. Twitter, email, johndoeradio@gmail.com. My Discord, which the link is below. Twitter is below. If you made it to this point today, holler at me. But you should real one. It's like somebody just like skimming through, randomly runs onto that spot, and he's like, well, hey. You know, that's how life works. Time and place for everything. Shit. Two and a half hours of absolute ridiculousness that was absolutely fun for me. The older I get, the more silly this whole endeavor seems when the realities of life and expectations and other people's expectations start coming down on you, and you're like, it's like when you're a kid and you're like dancing around. Or yesterday, for instance, this is a perfect example. This high school girl was dancing next to, I went to Walgreens to go pick up some medication. I'm assuming she was a high school girl. Had a mask, etc. The whole point is not being a high school girl, okay? We really shouldn't have led with that. Especially with the show we've had today. But there was a girl that was dancing there and was having the time of her life. And you could tell as I was like walking up and rounding the corner, you know, I like saw her that she was jamming, and then I kind of like knew that she was oblivious to everything around her and did not see me coming. So I like kind of looked away and tried to make it feel as comfortable for her as possible, because there's no way she was not going to notice me walking by her the 6 feet distance. But still, you know, that she was in a situation where she was jamming, and like as soon as she realized it, it was like shocking, you know, and that's exactly what happened yesterday, you know. And it's like, I wanted to tell her, it would have, I rejected this thought because I'm like, kids these days, man, I mean, they're strapped. She could have had bear mace. I do not look necessarily young anymore. Sometimes the mask, I got gray, I have neck beard. The expectation that people would think that I am a nice guy has gone away, has eroded over the years. I get that. I get it. I am an asshole. But anyway, I wish I could have like told her, and I wanted to tell her, you do your thing. Don't let anybody ever stop you from dancing. And that's what it feels like towards this shit sometimes. And that's when you'll work it out. Like yesterday, we fucking ran into a wall because of that. And then I knew what had happened with the big homie. To be honest, that like, that shit took up a lot of my energy after it happened. Then the like enjoying this monologue, happy-go-lucky, didn't seem too relevant in the scheme of things and importance of things, even though it is. But getting old sucks, man. I got all these feelings. It's bullshit. Problem is now there's not time to be a jackass with those feelings. Hopefully you learned something today. Bike and Telly. If not, hopefully it entertained you. I know you had to learn something today because I know neither one of you has read the news today. So something in one of the freaking asshat things I've said today has been positive and informative. So I thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Bike, very much for being supportive, man. He's the world to me. Oh, man. If we ever do succeed here, I'm going to bawl my eyes out on the show, like literally just. It's going to be like ugly crying, like straight up just like. Because I'm a jackass like that. Anyway, I'll holler at you guys here. Probably watch some Reefer Madness this weekend. Maybe this evening. Depends on how it goes. Even if I crash, it's probably only going to be for like 4 or 5 hours. That's all I can do. If I stay in bed for longer than that, then we just don't. We might as well just say goodbye for the next 24. Like kickstarting ourselves every time we get up in the morning now. The past year and a half. Look what this has done to us, people. But we can kickstart that engine. That's why we're here today. All right, I'm out. Telly, you the man. I appreciate you very much. Hopefully you got a laugh. Tell D-Money if you see him. I said what's up, and truly do miss you guys and have a conversation. So get him back here on the show. Talk with him. Have a serious conversation and not be an idiot like I am now. And have fun. And get caught up on where you guys are at. All right? See ya.
Live.
John Doe Radio.